everyone, welcome back. It's so good to see you. We are here again. I'm Laura, your host, Laura Williamson. This is Bare Fitness. Again, we got another exciting show for you. Today we have Lucia Jenkins with us from Baby Cafe, and she's going to talk about all things, or a lot of things, baby. So you definitely want to hang out for this one. But just so you know who you're here with today, who I am a personal trainer, a Pilates instructor, a health coach extraordinaire, and I try to bring all the good stuff to you. I bring you information, resources, whatever you need, I want to be here for you. But all that being said, I just want to jump in, get started, because we have such an exciting show today. So, Lucia, welcome. Thank you for joining us today.
Well, thank you very much for having me and asking me to come to share.
Yeah, well, we met and we hit it off, and I thought, I need you. I need you to come visit and sit with us for a while and talk to us about what it is that you do. So I'm just going to let's dive right in. Tell us about yourself.
Well, I started my professional career as a pediatric nurse. I was a graduate from the nursing program at Northeastern University. And then I was working as a nurse in pediatric hospitals, and I started having my own children and began to realize that there was another thread of professional expertise that I wanted to go in. And mostly because I was nursing all of my own children, I became very curious and more educated about breastfeeding and lactation and the benefits to humans. And I decided to get my certification as an international board certified lactation consultant. And I started working at Melrose Wakefield Hospital. I did inpatient care, I did outpatient care, did prenatal education, and I've also had a private practice in my house.
Okay.
It was during that process of having a private practice that I became very aware of a huge gap in our health care.
Okay.
Women start out breastfeeding well at the hospital, but when they leave, there's nothing for them except to try and find a lactation consultant, make an appointment for them, come and see them. So that brings us to the Baby Cafe.
Okay. So, just to be clear, so when I met you, I was actually intrigued by, what we were discussing, what you had to the information that you shared with me, particularly because, as someone who's worked with quite a few women and a lot of mothers before, during, and after, I found that it is something that comes up in conversation. It might not be a conversation always that women have with one another, but the question does come up, are you going to breastfeed? What are you going to do? How are you going to do it? And then after you have the baby, it's how is it going? Are things okay? Right. And I've encountered a few different scenarios with regards to pain and so on and so forth. So it just made sense to me that I invite you to come and sit with us to talk about some of these things, because I don't know, I'm not so sure it's always something that necessarily comes up in conversation with all the nuances that go along with breastfeeding.
Yeah, it's interesting, and you bring up a very important point as part of a conversation of our last two generations, because previously to, let's say, 3 generations ago, in the 1940s and 50s and 60s, breastfeeding became very unpopular because women were told that there was a much better sterile product. It came in a bottle, and it was really marketed by formula companies who wanted mothers to use their product. They felt their product was superior to the traditional taking your baby and feeding your baby human milk that you produce. So women became convinced that there was a better way to do things. Interestingly, this goes in parallel with women being medicated during their labors and being removed from the process. And in the 70s, in 1970s, women started to recognize that they were really missing out on this nurturing, I would say, sort of a time period that happens when you find a partner and start building a family, they were missing out on a lot. So they started to reclaim this, and it started with birthing classes, women wanting to be aware and awake through their birthing process, and they wanted to breastfeed because it was becoming scientifically researched that human milk is made in the human mammal for the purpose of feeding perfectly the human infant.
Right.
And in that whole scenario of years between the 70s and then now currently 86% of all women who give birth in this country on average start out with the intention to breastfeed.
Okay.
It became aware to me that and these numbers, by the way, are tracked by the CDC on an annual basis.
Okay.
So you get 86% of all women intending to breastfeed, but by 6 months, only half of them are still breastfeeding. And the failure rate is mostly due to lack of support.
Okay.
So that's where the Baby Cafe came in. And because I was a private practice person during that period of time, not all insurances covered lactation care for women.
Oh, okay.
So I said, well, this is ridiculous. Women have to pay out of pocket sometimes to get help to continue feeding their child, when sometimes these are just minor issues that can be fixed in 20 minutes of adjusting the baby's latch and getting things sorted out. So I conceived of a model of care, and this is now so successful that it is considered a public health model intervention of a baby cafe where once a week it's open for at least 2 hours, and women and their partners too can drop in, bring their babies, come and get on-site care from an experienced breastfeeding counselor, as well as make friends with other women and partners in the community, which builds a continuum of understanding how feeding a baby works and raising a baby. So you see, we had 3 generations of women and grannies and aunties who said, I don't know how to help you, dear daughter. I don't know how this works. And now to change the amount of education so that everybody in the community knows how to help a mother.
Well, I think on a whole, I think as a society that has changed, right? It used to be it takes a village.
Yes, exactly.
Right,
and
but that's kind of almost non-existent nowadays.
And it was such a hurdle to start the first Baby Cafe, trying to convince the powers that be. I started it with the help of Melrose Wakefield Hospital where I was working, but to say, this is not going to make money for the hospital. This is going to be free to all people in the community, not just women who birth here. But we need to make a site where people can come free of charge, drop in, get help, leave, and say, oh, thank goodness, I'm back breastfeeding, things are fixed, and I will continue to my goals. So now the Baby Cafe, in 2011, I started a nonprofit because I was lecturing about baby cafes, and they became very popular with other hospitals. So I started a nonprofit, and the nonprofit that's been going great guns since then. We now have over 148 baby cafes in 24 states, and they are funded by grant money that comes down from our Health and Human Services, CDC, up at our government. Their goal is to increase the breastfeeding rates in the United States because of the health benefits. So they put money into programs that are considered viable and successful. And the Baby Cafe network has been proven now to be successful at helping women and their partners reach their goal for breastfeeding.
Okay, well, who's your demographic, if that's the case?
Anybody.
Who do you cater to?
I'm glad you asked that. So let's say, the people I work with are everything from the United States Breastfeeding Committee, where I might lecture, down to counties, to governments, to WIC programs, to hospitals, to lactation consultants, to mothers themselves and their babies. So the whole spectrum of the population are who I deal with on a daily basis.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, do you see all types of people?
Our demographics.
Okay.
Yes.
So I asked the question because I wonder, is it caters to all people, but do all people come? Different, if that makes any sense, right? Because if someone hears, I wonder if someone listens to you and says, okay, it's being funded or by the government in some way, or you know what I mean? And is there going to be is an idea of what they think it is? Is it going to change? And are they going to be less likely to come in because they think, oh, so is that like I'm getting assistance? And there's nothing wrong with that, let's be clear.
Right.
But how do you get people to understand this is for everybody and just not for specific groups of people?
And there is a big challenge and problem in the United States right now, and it's been in all the newspapers and on TV and stuff. We have a great disparity between the health outcomes of women of color and women who are Caucasian. Huge. So that the health outcomes for black and brown women and their children are much lower. There's huge disparities in their birth outcomes itself, very risky. So baby cafes are targeted to be set up in areas that don't have resources. So areas that are already facing disparities. Now, that doesn't mean that they can't be in Melrose. That's the first one in the country. But when I promote them, my goal is to make sure that black and brown women who have lower breastfeeding rates in tradition in our numbers across the country, that because they live in areas where there is actually a dearth of lactation consultants. Few. And again, the CDC collects all this information. It's right on their website. It's called the Breastfeeding Report Card. And they count the percentage of lactation consultants that are available in the community. It's expensive to become a lactation consultant. Therefore, there are fewer black and brown women who are lactation consultants. This is a big problem. We always seek our own people to help guide us in anything in healthcare. Birthing, we need more doulas. We need that speak to the community needs and speak the language. And so baby cafes, we have I've also instituted a very inexpensive, it's only $300, training program that is a mentoring program that happens at a baby cafe that prepares a woman to sit for the IBCLC exam, cutting back on that incredible cost. So a mother who has her own child might be coming to the baby cafe routinely every week, and the leader says to her, hey, have you thought about becoming a breastfeeding counselor? And my goal is yes. She says, yes, okay, keep coming. I'll mentor you. You fill out all the requirements, and then hopefully if this woman wants to, she can sit for the IBCLC exam and then lead her own baby cafe. So yes, we have baby cafes in Harlem, Bronx. There was one in there's places in Michigan that have such poor communities, and there's one in Alaska. There are 3 in LA, one that is Asian speaking, many that are Spanish speaking only. We have, so my goal with helping people, helping communities establish baby cafes is that they reach out to the demographics that are there and meet their needs.
Okay, understood. I think, okay, so this is...
So they are in WIC offices.
Okay.
And they're open to...
And that's understandable.
Yes, and they are open to all people in the public, because I did have a little bit of a rift with the WIC program that said all of our resources are for WIC women only, and I said, that's not fair. The haves and the have-nots need to be sitting together, both discussing their sore nipples or the baby waking up all night.
Okay, so I appreciate you addressing that matter, because again, it's community focused. It might be in certain communities, and it definitely, there's an interest for, Black and brown women. However, there's also, it's community, so it's not only, and I just want to be clear if I'm understanding you correctly, right?
Correct.
Because again, I don't want someone to sit at home and say, okay, well, that's not for me, but then they're at a loss. They're feeling left out or feeling like they can't get what they need either.
Exactly.
So while we're, we want to give resources and let people know what's available to them, we're not trying to exclude.
Exactly.
So I just want to say that and put that out there, because that's not what we're trying to do here. That's not what we're about.
And all baby cafes are inclusive.
Right.
We share such commonalities that have nothing to do with our heritage, our race, or our ethnicity.
Right.
In fact, we learn from each other.
Right.
Mothers do something called a neuromodeling. It's a mirroring. So if you're sitting with a group of women that are all having babies, unconsciously you are picking up ways to handle your baby. You see somebody, burping them like this. You go, oh, unconsciously you say, oh, my baby likes that too. So this modeling from each other in a physical space is crucial to our survival as a species.
It's a beautiful thing. I think that's also about the individual being open also. So there's a couple of things going there. And so what specifically are you offering at the Baby Cafe?
We offer, it's so hard to put it in a nutshell, but we offer a space for people to get immediate lactation care, troubleshooting, help with any issues they have. And we also cultivate a connection between the parents with each other and a web of resources that we expose them to.
Okay.
So I encourage baby cafes to be incredibly creative. And I encourage them to get guest speakers to expose the moms to, and the partners too. As I said, they're not just for women, they're for anybody who breastfeeds or chest feeds or is pregnant or is interested in lactation.
Okay.
Students come as well. Sometimes medical students are required to go through a baby cafe to understand. So this collective of people, you can get, let's say you come in and you're worried that you might be experiencing some postpartum anxiety or depression. We make sure that there are resources there.
Okay.
There are some wonderful examples of things that baby cafes have done. There have been, I know the Rochester Baby Cafe, about, especially right after COVID, before COVID, they had Narcan trainings that they sponsored. They had the the fire chief come and speak about fire safety in the home.
Okay.
Our baby cafe, we've had pelvic floor specialists come to speak because this is an issue that all of us need more information about.
Right.
We do things like baby wearing. So a group will come with all different kinds of slings and wraps and show the moms how to do that. We might have baby massage. We might have social workers come and speak about recognizing signs of postpartum anxiety.
Okay.
So that network, we are the village that can help meet the mother's needs wherever they are. We also help with weaning.
Okay.
Just to make sure that wherever the mother is at, we're all about helping her. It's not about breastfeed, breastfeed, breastfeed. It's about where are you at, what kind of goals do you have, and how can we help you?
Well, I'm gonna just, if I may jump in here. So is there an age range, appropriate age to or not to wean? And like,
it's a big question.
I understand that. So I just wonder, because I realize no two women necessarily wean at the same time.
Correct. So it's very interesting, but when we look at, as a species, when we look at what is the normal biological time frame, biologically driven, that an infant is breastfed or receives human milk from its mom, The average age of weaning worldwide is 3 years and 3 months, I think, currently.
Okay.
It used to be 4 years and 4 months when I
Okay.
first became a lactation consultant. Now, when you look at a rudimentary society that has no impact from the modern world where
Right.
nothing else is available,
Right.
babies will often nurse well into toddlerhood. It turns out it's essential there because of the
Understood.
antibody protective effect. And it turns out that babies really benefit from receiving human milk well into their second year. So the recommended time frame now, and this is from the CDC and the American Academy of Pediatrics, right, they recommend that babies receive just human milk for the first 6 months of life in their infancy, then start complementary foods, little things to pick at and to eat, continue giving human milk until through the second year, and then continue on as long as the mother and the baby decide. And these guidelines, these recommendations are based on health outcomes. This is evidence-based research that they have found that the protective factors of human milk in an infant run everywhere from, it's a less risk of asthma, respiratory disease. When COVID came around, there was a whole bunch of stuff that turns out that if a mother has been vaccinated against COVID, that she produces antibodies in her milk that can be, there's ongoing research that can be protective for that infant.
Okay.
So this is beneficial. A child who is under the age of, like between 1 and 2, let's take a 20-month-old, he goes to daycare.
Right.
He comes home and he's picked up some viruses from the kids. We all know that
Happens all the
daycares
time.
can be a petri
It's very
dish.
normal, yes, it's
Yeah.
very normal.
Baby comes home, and when baby nurses, it turns out that his saliva hits some cells behind the nipple and the areola that actually triggers the mother's body to create an antibody specific for that virus. They just discovered this.
Very interesting.
And the other recent discovery about human milk that's fascinating to me is the hormonal delivery. So in the evening hours when mom is tired, it turns out she is secreting melatonin in her milk. Babies often want to nurse more frequently in the evening.
Okay.
And it turns out kind of instinctively they are getting ready for their circadian rhythm plan of being down during the night, and they get kind of wake up milk in the morning.
Okay.
So mom's body is continually almost messaging this child, this is how we do it. We go down at night, we're not bright-eyed and bushy-tailed and 2 a.m. We sleep at night and we get up. So this interplay, what I'm trying to describe to you, it's changed. It's not just calories, carbohydrates in the infant. There is a relationship between the mammary gland and the infant that seems to really be extremely important for their health even as an adult.
Okay, so then we talked about this before. So if deciding to nurse or breastfeed your baby is a personal choice, how is it beneficial to a community, right? I make the decide to breastfeed, but you were explaining to me that there are benefits to the community if a mother breastfeeds, right? Because there are some women, like you said, there are some women who choose not to breastfeed at all. It's not even, they don't want to do it, and there are a variety of reasons.
Absolutely.
And why that happens also.
Yeah, and if you want to touch on that just right now, because it's important to understand that if a woman, the majority of women have made a decision about how they're going to feed their baby while they're pregnant.
Right.
This is not a sudden thing that happens when the baby's born.
Right.
If she has chosen to use formula, she's very clear about her reasons for that.
Right.
Respectfully, that's fine, that's your reason, and not to question her about it. And that is something that it was sort of blasted out in the social media, all this shaming of mothers. That doesn't really happen. I do believe that that was perpetuated by ne'er-do-wells, I don't know what you call them, but women who choose to feed their babies formula are comfortable with that decision. They have their own reasons, just as a woman who chooses to breastfeed has her own reasons.
Okay.
And generally, women don't attack other women for their choices of what car seat they use or how they dress their child. And I think women are generally really respectful of other women's choices. So I don't find that in the community that women are ostracized for not. But how it helps the community as a whole is it lessens the healthcare costs dramatically. So when I was speaking about asthma in particularly, if you have a high rate of asthma in children in the community, it plays out even with kids' sports. The medical care, the provision of inhalers, the what can this child do that his friends can't do who don't have asthma. So there's a pervasive feeling of not having the optimal health that you could have. So if we can prevent diseases like this in a community or help elevate the overall community health, you get a lot less worry on the parents.
Okay.
There's nothing more frightening than a child who's having an asthma attack at night and you have to load them up and get to the ER so they can get a nebulizer treatment.
Right.
So these worries are exacerbated in a family when you have an ill child or a child with health issues, and it goes across for everybody. Mom's feelings about being a good mom is a bouncing child that's full of energy and glowing, and and mothers take it very personally too.
Right. So, you know, as I think we went through a lot today, but what's a typical day look like at the baby cafe?
Oh, okay.
What are
great.
we looking at?
So much fun. So much fun. And what's really delightful, and I find this across the board, is that lactation consultants often get saddled with just seeing birth to 5-day-old babies.
Okay.
But yet we've been trained to support women all the way through the spectrum of birth to weaning. Getting teeth, starting to eat solids, crawling, walking, learning to sleep better at night, all of those are in this big umbrella. So we love, as lactation consultants, to be able to watch these babies grow and to watch the mothers become so confident. They almost become like daughters of ours, where we watch them be so timid in the beginning and so uncertain, and then they come in, now baby's 9 months old, and they waltz in and they're eager to help somebody who comes with a newborn and say, oh, I was just like that. I cried too. I was just so overwhelmed, and it gets so much better. So when I prepare to go to the baby cafe, it's generally like, yay, I've got baby cafe today, it's awesome. So I go to the site, and usually half an hour early, and I set it up. All baby cafes are required to provide snacks for the moms, healthy snacks. It doesn't have to be fresh fruit, but it should be carefully chosen granola bars without extra sugar. And so we're actually working with a government nutrition program and a baby cafe to get some cool guidelines.
Okay.
But so that the mothers feel helped and waited on. Some communities actually get donated food and provide a mini meal for mothers. So depending on what the community needs are, some nourishment is provided.
Okay.
Might be tea, might be lactation tea that helps you produce more milk.
Understood.
And so I get all those things out, and the arena where a baby cafe happens is designed to be really, really comfortable. We have couches and chairs, comfy ones, you know, sort of grandpa chairs. They don't have to be new. Lots of pillows, not specific breastfeeding pillows, just couch pillows. It should look very comfortable. I prefer if they're carpeted because moms love to put their babies down to say hi to other babies.
Right.
But the goal is that they are comfortable and welcoming.
Okay.
So pristine and clinical is not what we're looking for. We're looking for, come on in. And during COVID, I was hosting them at Maple Way Playground, and I put the scale on the picnic table, and all the moms would bring their folding chairs. They just loved it.
Awesome.
So we want a mom to be able to walk in, oh my gosh, I haven't had a shower for 3 days. Oh, I've got the same sweatpants on. I've got spit up on my shoulder. I forgot my diaper bag. We want her to be able to come in and just feel completely welcomed in at home.
Okay.
We have a digital scale there.
Yep.
So the moms
And I saw the
come.
scale in one of the pictures. I did
Yeah,
see
and
that.
the moms come in at any time. It doesn't have a start and end time.
Okay.
So we start around, I say, so I have a little book, and I say, who wants to go first? And you might say, you know, hi, I'm Laura, and this is Adrian, and he's 3 weeks old, and I don't know what I'm doing because I just went to the pediatrician, and he's not gaining weight, and I'm so worried. Or, oh, this is Adrian, and he's 3 months old, and he's doing so much better now. We fixed the latch, and his weight has gone up since the last time I was here. So the mother shares with us and the
Nice.
group concerns, and then we go to the next one. If it's a concern, of the most common one is, oh my gosh, my baby's 2.5 months old, and in a week I go back to work, and I haven't even taken the pump out of the box, and I don't know where to start. Work concerns are enormous to a mother who's trying to only give human milk for the first 6 months. And at 3 months we say, sorry, you need to go to work. So for 8 hours of the day, we are separating the baby from
Right.
you. And here's a little plastic thing that you'll turn on and suck milk out of your body every 3 hours.
Right.
It's a huge burden on women. We need to fix that. But and then as the 2 hours get done, the mothers weigh their babies. They use the scale. They write down the weight. Then they nurse them. Then they weigh them again. And they say, Lucia, is it possible? He took in 3 ounces. And I'll go look and I'll say, yeah. Or they say, I don't know if I'm reading this right.
Yeah.
He only took in 1 ounce. So I can allay fears, set things up, make a plan. And then they kind of wrap up, and when they leave, out they go, and I clean up.
And then another day to do it all over again.
Yeah.
And all that being said,
We also make referrals, too.
Okay.
I wanted to bring that in because if, say, for instance, a baby seems to have a tongue tie and is having trouble nursing, I might
Okay.
take a look, and we have, as lactation consultants, we have gloves there and everything. Might take a quick look and say, you know what? He does have a little bit of a tongue tie. I'm going to give you some names of some ear, nose, and throat people. I think you should go get it evaluated. I recommend that. Or she says, you know, I think I'm struggling with some postpartum depression. So we've got a list of some resources, some people who've been recommended, so that she goes home feeling well cared for.
so all of these things that you offer and all of these things you do, because we're short on time at this point, but my question to you is, last bit of advice for someone, what would you recommend?
For
A mom,
for considering nursing.
let's say a mother or
Who's pregnant.
What jumps out at you?
Okay.
You choose. It's yours. Whatever you think
the
would
first
be
thing that I
valuable
think
for
is
them.
most important is that the parents become educated about the benefits of giving your child human milk.
Okay.
And if you have an aversion to breastfeeding, there are ways of giving your baby human milk, pumping. Some moms choose to exclusively pump.
Okay.
But the mother's health we didn't even look at. If that mother has a history of breast cancer or ovarian cancer in her family, she should definitely consider lactating when she's
Okay.
pregnant. There is a high correlation with the reduction in breast cancer risk the longer you lactate. So it's a cumulative effect for that one.
Because for some reason in my mind, I thought if you aren't feeling well, if you are not well, wouldn't it be more challenging to do that?
It's actually better for the mom. There's some very interesting things that happen. A mother, let's say, who has MS, actually will sometimes have the flares go away, or RA, have a reduction in flares while she's nursing.
Okay.
The human species seems to protect the mother's health while she's breastfeeding or creating milk.
Okay.
They tend to have a higher immune response than when they're not. As many mothers will say, everybody in the family got bronchitis and terrible coughing, and I got nothing. The baby and I got nothing.
Well,
or everybody had diarrhea. And we
all
had
the
nothing.
benefits, all the benefits.
Yeah, yeah. But
Well,
it is less for the mother. Obesity, lower risk of obesity, heart disease, type 2 diabetes. Okay.
Yeah.
These are killers for women, and I mentioned breast cancer and ovarian cancer.
Right.
But the heart disease is really notable, and these are all heavily researched.
Right, right. How can someone find you? How can they get in touch with you?
We have a great website.
Okay.
Baby Cafe USA.
Okay.
Baby Cafe USA. Make
Yep.
sure the USA.
And we're gonna put the information on the screen for them
and we
too.
have right on the main page, I have a block there, find a baby cafe. You can put in a zip code and up comes the listing of all the baby cafes near you.
Okay.
Some of them offer Zoom meetings as well, so
Okay.
you can do it virtually. Make sure that everybody has access is our goal. And we have a lot of information for parents that are looking for, let's say they have extra milk and they want to donate it.
Right.
We hook them up to a milk bank.
Okay.
We have all kinds of information for parents, for people who want to open a baby cafe.
Okay.
Application is free, and our
Okay.
licensing fee is $750.
Not bad.
I keep it so,
Wow.
and we are a self-funded nonprofit, so
Okay.
if anybody wants to throw money at us, please do.
Okay. All right.
We are constantly looking for grant money because
And can you donate online? Can
yes,
you-
we have a donate
Okay.
button. Please do that.
right.
And it goes right to
Is it a button or
helping
a
baby
QR
cafes.
code?
It's a button.
It's an actual
donate.
button.
Yeah,
Okay.
donate button.
Okay.
Which we need to do better, but because our main work is actively working with parents, we don't have a lot of time to
Right.
look for grant money.
Understood.
We did receive a big award from the Office of Women's Health. I'm very proud to say that we were recognized as a community model for the Health and Human Services division of our government as doing great work at reducing disparities, health disparities.
Well, it sounds like, I mean, it's obvious that you're needed, but it sounds like you're doing awesome work, which is why I invited you here today.
It's been a great adventure.
I mean, I'm so grateful for you coming to share with us.
well, thank you very much,
today.
Laura.
Thank you.
And
Thank you
yes,
for coming in.
And send women who have any kinds of questions. And I would like to remain very integrated with what you offer, because women's health is
It's
very,
vital.
very important.
It's vital. Yeah, I think it's
we
very
are an
necessary.
important part of the population.
To say the least, yes. I would tend to agree with that. Yeah, definitely. But everyone, I think this is it for us today. Thank you for coming. It's good to see you. Just as a gentle reminder, we got to work out, so don't go away. And again, Lucia, this is Lucia Jenkins from the Baby Cafe. Check out her information. We're going to have it available for you. It's been available throughout this broadcast. And we are going to see you next time. I'm Laura, your host, and this is Bare Fitness. Take care, and I'll see you next time. Bye.
Yep.